was a young man and going to school, we used to watch movies all the time at school. Our little science films are on 16 millimeter film, tiny film, but it would go through the projector up and down like this. Now you may have seen other movies advertised for 70 millimeter. That's 70 millimeter, what we call 5-perf. A perf is the hole in the side of the film that we use to move the film through the projector. Now 70 millimeter 5-perf is a frame that is 70 millimeters wide, but it's very short. It's only 5 perfs tall, so it gets blown up a whole lot. The IMAX film is different. It's the only projectors in the world where the film goes through sideways, like this. So what we get is a frame that is 70 millimeters tall and over 70 millimeters wide. That's going to fill this screen today. That's 5 stories tall. It's 7 stories wide. It's going to fill that whole screen up for most of the movie. Now you will see certain scenes that are letterboxed. That is how Christopher Nolan made the movie, and that's the way it's intended to be seen. So it will change some, not as much as Oppenheimer. Y'all saw Oppenheimer, it went up and down all over the place. Is there anyone here that saw this 10 years ago? Oh, excellent. Well, thank you for coming back. You're going to see the same super presentation today. This print is 10 years old. It's been in a vault in California this whole time, but it has been played before. You might see a speck of dust here or there on the film. It does get wiped off every 10 seconds. You shouldn't notice it, but I'll let everybody know because we have had issues where people thought there were bugs on the film or on the camera. It's like, no, it's a little speck of dust. It just gets blown up huge. But you shouldn't see any of that today, but if you do, it's just part of the presentation. All right. Very good. So, let me tell you about how a moving picture works. So, what we do is we thread the film up into the projector sideways like this. We line up a particular frame at the beginning, this is the start frame. And what happens is when we start the movie, we have at the aperture where the film is at, there's a shutter behind that. And behind that is a 6,000 watt bulb. And so when the frame comes in there like that, the shutter opens, it flashes the light on the screen once, closes, flashes and opens again, flashes the light on the screen again, and then it closes and it moves the next frame over and does it all over again. 24 times a second. All done with sprockets and gears and belts. So it's really amazing, but it is a 25-year-old technology. The projector can be picky use, but so far so good. Everything's been going very well. But we do have to have a projectionist up there. There's somebody in the booth the entire time. Today your projectionist is Mr. Louis Duran. He's right up there in the window. Give him a big wave. If, in the unlikely event something should happen, he will get the lights on and the movie started again just as soon as possible. But I will tell you, with film, there is no such thing as rewinding or fast forwarding or pausing. So when we get the film, it comes to us on 3 big reels about this big. The film, once it's put together, weighs about 1,000 pounds. What we do is we run those little reels, the big reels, onto a big platter, big flat disc. Make it all one continuous loop of film. And then we take the ring out of the middle, we run it over to the projector, through the projector, back through a bunch of little wheels and things, and then back to the platter where we put another ring, and it starts wrapping up there. So when we start the projector, we get 2 discs that spin really fast, because this is 24 frames a second. So that film is really moving. Now, it is, like I say, analog. So what you're going to see today is a different kind of picture. You're going to see smooth transitions between the colors and everything. When they started out with digital, they had 2K, I'm sure you've heard of, and 4K. They say this would be the equivalent of something like 15K. But really, it's about the grain of the film. So that's going to be the thing you're going to notice today is just the colors and everything. Matthew McConaughey's face, you're going to see every little whisker and everything else on his face. You're going to practically see it grow during the movie. It is really fantastic. So that gets us a picture on our great screen today, but we need a little bit of sound to go with that. Now, in the old days, we would have film, even 35 millimeter film, it would have an optical soundtrack on the side of the film like this. Or when we got to Dolby Digital and everything, they would put the sound actually in between the perfs on the film. This has neither. So the only semi-digital part of the presentation today is the sound. The sound comes to us on a compact disc. Okay. So what happens is when we thread the projector up, we have a particular frame that says start. That's the first frame of the film. You're going to watch 211,000 frames today. That continuous loop of film is about 9 miles long. It's pretty crazy. Now, what happens is we put that frame there for start. When we push the button to start the projector, it starts counting each frame. And as it counts the frame, it sends that to the CD player and tells it which sound to play. So that way, the mouse stays synced to the picture all the time. Now, if something would happen to the film and we would have to cut a piece of it out, we would have to splice another piece of black film in there to take up that space. Otherwise, after that point, the sound would be off the whole time. Now, this print has no problems with it. We haven't done any of that, so the sound should be perfect today. Does anybody see any speakers in here? There's 2 up there in the corners. Where are the rest of them at?
Behind the screen.
Behind the screen, that's right. If I drop that screen today, you'd see a wall of speakers there. Not hearing the movie is not going to be a problem today. Matter of fact, you might blow your hair back just a little bit. So we have 50,000 watts of power. That screen right there, it looks solid, but it's not. It's actually full of holes. We call that a perforated screen, so that lets all the sound out, but you still get this beautiful picture. It's a silver screen. It's actually coated with silver. So that gets our beautiful picture, beautiful sound. It's going to be a wonderful movie today. The IMAX difference, too, is you see this huge screen. If you would lay it down, it would just cover the audience. And the idea here is that we have a giant screen, small auditorium, so you have nothing in your peripheral vision. You are literally part of the movie. And you're going to notice that difference today, too. So, excellent. Looks like everybody's filling in today. Very good. Does anybody have any questions for me today? Anybody? Everybody's good on that? Yes, sir.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been in the movie business for 33 years. I really love film. That's why I started, and I've used projectors that were built in the 1940s all the way to this IMAX projector here. Yes, sir.
All right. How did you guys get one of the covenant spots to film or to show this film in?
Because there's like only 7 places left, something like that, that actually have projectors that work. I know there's some people from San Antonio here. Theirs went down. There you go. I know there used to be one over in Fort Worth, but they've taken that one out too. They are 25 years old. They don't make them anymore. When we have to get parts for them, it takes a little time. They have some stored up. We're hoping they're going to make some new projectors. They are making new IMAX film cameras that are lighter and easier to use, so hopefully we're going to see more movies shot this way. But as long as Christopher Nolan keeps making them, we're going to keep playing them. I hear that he's got a project in the works and it should be coming out in 2026. If we don't see anything before then, we're gonna oil up the projector and mothball it, and we'll have it ready for 2026 when it comes. Anyone else? All right, who's the farthest away? Yes, sir.
After the film, would there be a chance to check out the projection?
No, unfortunately, because all of that moves so fast and everything, IMAX is very particular about who gets into the booth. So unfortunately, it's very dangerous. It's very loud. So we don't do booth tours. I'm sorry about that. Anyone else in front here? Anything? No? Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, sir.
Do you ever lose a frame when you're like splicing the reels together?
No, you can usually cut one frame out. It doesn't affect the sound any. But normally we splice them. It's called the head. The beginning of the film is called the head. And as you see on here, the end of the film is called the foot. So what we do when we break the movie down, we will leave one frame there so we can always identify which head and foot goes to which reel. It does come to us on big reels, so there's only 3 reels that come. But should there be a problem with the film, we can actually get a small section of the film of 1,000 feet. But they have to produce it with the inner negative and ship it to us and everything. We don't want that to happen. They don't want that. We triple check things before we start everything moving, because once it goes, it's going to go. All right. Yes, sir. Unfortunately, when the new movies come out, like Joker, Interstellar, Oppenheimer, they send us film strips for those. Since this is a 10-year-old print, they did not do that. Now, earlier in the week, we had an old preview here that we took, like a 20-year-old preview, and we took it and we cut it up into little pieces and handed them out to everybody. But unfortunately, those have been exhausted. I don't have anything else to cut up. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Why silver?
Why silver? The reflectivity of it. A white screen doesn't have any gain to it, so what you put on it's what you get back. A silver screen actually has a little gain, so you get a little bit more light reflected off of it. And that's real important, too, when you do a 3D movie. It needs to have plenty of reflectivity to get the light. That will not be a problem today. Once we turn these lights out, the movie starts, you're going to feel like you're in space, really. Okay, well, I think that ought to do it. Everybody should be in here today. Once again, I want to thank everyone for coming out to Cinemark, coming out during the week to see a movie like this. I guarantee you, kids, you're not going to forget this. You'll be able to tell your children about it someday, that you actually saw a real film, because it won't be around forever. The prints, when they make them, they cost $60,000 to $70,000 for one print. That's how much silver is in there. So when this is done, we'll break it down, we'll send it back. They'll probably put it in the vault, and hopefully we'll be able to do Oppenheimer again maybe next year or something, just to have something to show. But it is really beautiful. I really love the film. I thank all of you for coming out, being filmophiles. You can call yourself a filmophile after today. Really, you're going to love it. I'm going to kill the light.